You would stay to teach us the art of warfare? Thalax asked, multifaceted eyes blinking vertically. I'll stay to teach you how Deathworlders think, Chen corrected. How to recognize threats, how to prepare defenses, and yes, how to fight when necessary. But more importantly, I'll teach you what humanity learned through thousands of years of conflict, that the greatest victory is the one that prevents war entirely. Thalax's 4 hands formed a gesture Chen had come to recognize as profound respect. Perhaps that is why your species survived your death world. Not just because you learned to fight, but because you learned when not to. As Earth vessels began departing for home, carrying news of humanity's new place in the galactic community, Captain Chen looked out at the stars with new perspective. Humans had always looked to the heavens with wonder, hoping they weren't alone in the universe. Now they knew the truth. They weren't alone, but they were unique. The stars had called for help, and Earth had answered. In doing so, humanity had found its purpose among the cosmic civilizations, not just as warriors, but as protectors. Deathworlders, it seemed, made the best guardians for those who had never needed to learn the harsh lessons of survival. And somewhere out there, perhaps other predators lurked, other threats to peaceful existence. When they came, they would find not just the gentle species of the collective, but the descendants of Earth standing beside them. Humans who had transformed the brutal education of their death world into a shield for all life that wished to exist in peace. Probe at 28 kilometers, Nakamura reported, his voice tight. 29, 30. Optimum position achieved. Resonance device activating. All power to engines. Chen commanded. Get a... Captain Chen stood on the Thunderchild's bridge as they prepared to separate from the main fleet. Her crew had been supplemented with volunteers from each Earth vessel, the best pilots, engineers, and tactical officers humanity could offer. Remember, she addressed them, her voice carrying throughout the ship, we're not just fighting for Earth or for the collective. We're fighting for the principle that life, all life, has the right to exist without being consumed. Even predators must learn boundaries. The Thunderchild, Archangel, and Valkyrie engaged their stealth systems, a combination of human cloaking technology and collective phase shifting, and broke away from the main fleet, setting course for the swarm's nexus. Stealth systems functioning at 98% efficiency, Lieutenant Kaminsky reported. At current speed, we'll reach the nexus in 43 hours. As they journeyed deeper into swarm-controlled space, they witnessed the aftermath of its consumption. Barren worlds stripped of all useful elements, the husks of space stations and ships, and occasionally, the scattered remains of failed evacuation attempts. How many? Chen asked quietly as they passed a debris field that had once been a Nebulan colony. Population was approximately 12 million, Dr. Wright answered, her voice hollow. Evacuation was only 30% complete when the swarm arrived. The 3 vessels maintained communication silence except for encrypted quantum bursts untraceable by the swarm. Through these, they learned that the main fleet had engaged the swarm's outer tendrils, drawing massive portions of the superorganism away from its nexus point. The bacterial deployment has begun, Commander Okafor reported after decrypting the latest burst. Initial results show 40% effectiveness, but the swarm is already adapting. We need to move faster. At the edge of the Nexus system, they got their first clear view of the swarm's heart. Unlike the tendrils they had fought before, the Nexus had formed a structure resembling a massive brain, pulsating with energy and surrounded by swirling clouds of smaller organisms. It's beautiful in a terrifying way, Dr. Wright whispered, staring at the main viewer. A perfect predatory system. All predators have weaknesses, Chen replied. Active scanning. Find the access points where we can deploy Prometheus. Chief Engineer Nakamura identified 3 potential insertion points, areas where the Nexus structure was less dense, allowing for deeper penetration before detonation. I've modified the delivery system, he explained, showing Chen the sleek probe that would carry the quantum resonance device. It will burrow 30 kilometers into the Nexus before activating. That should put it near what we believe is the central coordination node. The Archangel and Valkyrie positioned themselves at the other identified insertion points, while the Thunderchild approached the primary target. All three vessels maintained stealth, but sensors indicated the swarm was becoming agitated, perhaps sensing something it couldn't quite detect. "We're being scanned," Security Officer Paddle reported, replacing the fallen Lieutenant Rodriguez. "Not directed at us specifically. More like the swarm is feeling around in the dark." "Hold position," Chen ordered. "Commence countdown for synchronized deployment." As the countdown reached its final seconds, alarms blared across the bridge. "We've been detected," Patel shouted. "Swarm units converging on our position." Chen didn't hesitate. "Deploy Prometheus now. All vessels, commence deployment and immediate withdrawal." The Thunderchild's launch tubes fired the specialized probe directly into the Nexus mass. On the tactical display, similar launches from the Archangel and Valkyrie registered successfully. "Probes away," Nakamura confirmed. "Burrowing now. 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers." The ship shuddered as the first wave of swarm units impacted their shields. Unlike previous encounters, these appeared specialized for attack, razor-sharp crystalline structures designed to slice through hull materials. "Shields at 82% and dropping," Paddle reported. "They're adapting to our frequency." "Evasive maneuvers," Chen ordered. "Maintain distance until probe confirmation." For agonizing minutes, the Thunderchild weaved through increasingly coordinated swarm attacks. The probe continued its descent into the Nexus -15 kilometers, 20 kilometers, 25 kilometers. "The Archangel is taking heavy damage," Okafor reported. "Their shields are failing." Chen opened a channel. "Archangel, withdraw immediately." "That's an order." "Negative, Thunderchild," came the calm reply from Captain Raman. "Our engines are damaged. We'll hold them off as long as we can. Complete the mission." On the tactical display, they watched as the Archangel deliberately drew swarm units away from the Thunderchild, sacrificing itself to give them time. General Blackwood nodded, unsurprised. "I expected nothing less, Captain. You'll take the Thunderchild, newly retrofitted with collective technology. 2 other vessels will accompany you, the Archangel and the Valkyrie." The mission parameters were daunting. While the 3 stealth vessels approached the swarm nexus, the combined Earth collective fleet would launch a massive diversionary attack against the swarm's outer perimeter. Simultaneously, the engineered bacterial agent would be deployed across 17 strategic points where the swarm was actively feeding. The 3-pronged assault, Commander Okafor observed during the final briefing aboard the Thunderchild. Military distraction, biological warfare, and a direct strike at the command center. "Very human approach," Dr. Wright noted. "When facing a superior force, attack from multiple vectors to divide attention and resources." Dr. Kapoor presented the latest findings from his collaboration with collective biologists. The swarm exhibits properties similar to both biological and technological systems. It's as if it evolved specifically to consume advanced civilizations, adapting to and incorporating their strengths. "A perfect predator," Chen mused. "But even perfect predators can be defeated by prey that refuses to follow the expected pattern." Chief Engineer Nakamura had modified the quantum resonance device based on data from their previous encounters. The swarm uses quantum entanglement for instant communication across its entire mass. This device creates a cascading disruption, essentially introducing conflicting instructions throughout the network simultaneously. "Like giving a body contradictory nerve signals," Dr. Wright added. "Left and right, up and down, attack and retreat, all at once." Captain Raman of the Archangel, a veteran of Earth's asteroid belt conflicts, studied the projections with a critical eye. "The timing has to be perfect. The moment the nexus is disrupted, the bacterial agent needs to hit all 17 feeding sites simultaneously before the swarm can establish a new communication network. And the diversionary fleet needs to draw as much of the swarm's attention as possible," added Captain Nguyen of the Valkyrie. "Make it commit resources away from the nexus." Chen looked around at the assembled officers, human and collective alike. Each brought unique perspectives, knowledge, and abilities to the mission. "This is more than just a military operation," she told them. "It's the first true collaboration between our civilizations, combining humanity's tactical experience with the collective's advanced technology. Together, we'll do what neither could do alone." The collective council watched the preparations with a mixture of hope and apprehension. Many still struggled with the concept of deliberate destruction on such a massive scale, but fear of extinction had overcome philosophical objections. "Your species frightens us," Elder Karen confessed to Captain Chen the night before deployment. "You developed in an environment that required constant violence to survive. You turned killing into an art form, weaponized your technology, even your microorganisms." Chen studied the shifting geometric patterns of the Elder's form before responding. "On Earth, there's a saying, 'Necessity is the mother of invention.' We didn't choose to evolve on a death world, but it prepared us for moments like this." Kerman's patterns shifted into what Chen had learned indicated deep contemplation. "If we survive this, can your kind teach mine how to make peace with such knowledge? How to hold destruction in one's grasp without being consumed by it?" "That," Chen replied softly, "is humanity's oldest struggle. We're still learning ourselves." The combined fleet departed Harmony Station the following day, 83 vessels in total, the largest military force ever assembled in collective history. Alongside human warships flew the sleek, crystalline vessels of the Luminar, the massive gas containment ships of the Nebulans, and representatives from every surviving collective species. "It is unsettling," Ambassador Thalax admitted, watching the fleet formation from the Thunderchild's observation deck. "For millennia, we explored the stars peacefully. Now we launch vessels of war." "In Earth's history," Chen replied, "the greatest warriors were often those who valued peace the most. They fought not because they loved violence, but because they couldn't bear to see it inflicted on others." Thalax's multifaceted eyes studied Chen with new understanding. "Perhaps we misjudged your species. We saw only the violence in your transmissions, not the reason behind it." "Humans fight because our world taught us we had to," Chen said. "But we also learned to build, to heal, to create beauty from chaos. Those are gifts from Earth too." "Lieutenant Rodriguez?" Chen asked. Nakamura shook his head. "Her shuttle was swarmed just after dispersal. She knew the risks, Captain." The loss hit the crew hard, but there was no time to mourn. The disruption compound had affected roughly 60% of the swarm tendril, but the remaining 40% was already adapting, restructuring its quantum network to resist the compound. "The colony evacuation needs another 12 hours, Okafor reported. Chen studied the tactical display. "We fought them time, but we can't stop the swarm permanently. Not yet." After 72 hours of continuous battle, the Thunderchild limped away from the encounter. They had saved the Nebulan colony, giving them time to complete the evacuation, but at heavy cost. The ship had depleted almost all its ammunition, sustained damage to multiple systems, and lost 23 crew members. In the aftermath, the collective council reconvened. Many members who had opposed human methods were silent now, watching recordings of the battle with new understanding. "Your people fought with incredible determination," Ambassador Thalax told Chen privately. "The sacrifice of your crew members, we have no words in our language for such actions." "On Earth, we call it courage," Chen replied. "Or sometimes, desperation." Morpheus Prime of the Nebulans addressed the council. "The humans have proven their worth. They saved millions of my people, at great cost to themselves. I move that we grant them full access to our technology and resources to continue this fight." Elder Kermen's geometric form pulsed with reluctant agreement. "Our principles of nonviolence served us well for millennia, but they cannot save us now. The humans' methods disturb us deeply, yet they have shown them to be effective where our approaches failed." The vote was unanimous. The collective would fully support Earth's military response to the swarm. Resources, manufacturing facilities, and all scientific knowledge would be shared. As the meeting concluded, sensors detected multiple spatial distortions forming near the station. Captain Chen received the news with visible relief. "Earth has responded to our call," she informed the Council. "The first wave of reinforcements has arrived." 7 Earth vessels emerged from faster-than-light travel, led by the massive UES Leviathan, Earth's largest warship. General Blackwood's face appeared on the communication screen. "Captain Chen, I see you've been keeping busy," he remarked dryly. "We've brought presents, new weapons, fresh troops, and something special from Earth's Science Division. They call it Project Prometheus." As the Earth fleet docked with Harmony Station, Captain Chen allowed herself a moment of hope. Humanity had brought its terrible gift of warfare to the stars. Now they would see if it was enough to save a galaxy unprepared for the ultimate predator. Deathworlders unleashed. The Harmony Station's Grand Atrium had been converted into a joint command center where human military officers worked alongside collective strategists. Holographic displays showed the Void Swarm's advance across collective space, a creeping darkness consuming stars one by one. General Blackwood stood before the assembled leadership of both Earth and the Collective, his weathered face grim under the harsh lighting. At 63, he had fought in Earth's last great war and hoped never to see another. Fate, it seemed, had other plans. "Project Prometheus represents our best chance against the swarm," he explained, activating a holographic schematic. "It's a two-pronged approach. A quantum resonance device that disrupts the swarm's communication network, and an engineered bacterial agent that breaks down their molecular structure." Captain Chen studied the schematics with narrowed eyes. The resonance device requires direct deployment at the swarm's central mass, what we're calling its nexus point. "That's a suicide mission." "Not necessarily," interjected Dr. Mikio Tanaka, Earth's leading xenobiologist. "We've modified 3 long-range insertion vessels with stealth technology. They can approach undetected, deploy the device, and withdraw before detonation." Ambassador Thalax's multifaceted eyes blinked vertically. "You speak of delivering a weapon directly to the heart of a predator. The risk is immeasurable." "The risk of doing nothing is extinction," Blackwood countered. "We've analyzed the swarm's consumption patterns. It's not random. It's following energy signatures, prioritizing inhabited systems with developed infrastructure. Earth is not beyond its reach." The truth hung heavy in the room. This was no longer just about saving the Collective. Humanity was fighting for its own survival as well. Captain Chen stepped forward. "I volunteer to lead the insertion team." As the Thunderchild prepared for battle, Dr. Wright worked with collective scientists to modify the ship's communication systems. If the swarm uses quantum entanglement for coordination, she theorized, we might be able to introduce signal noise, like jamming radio frequencies, but at the quantum level. Engineer Nakamura nodded enthusiastically. "We could repurpose the ship's sensor array to emit quantum interference patterns. It won't stop them, but it might slow their adaptation response." Meanwhile, Security Chief Rodriguez had her own idea. The Luminar mentioned their deterrent technology was designed to discourage aggressive species. What if we reverse-engineered it to attract the swarm instead? Draw them away from the colony toward a designated target area. Chen approved both plans. "Implement them immediately. Commander Okafor, coordinate with the colony's evacuation leaders. We need to buy them as much time as possible." The Thunderchild positioned itself between the oncoming swarm and the Nebulan colony. Up close, the swarm resembled a living storm cloud composed of trillions of microscopic organisms that formed larger structures as needed. Tendrils, waves, and massive pseudopods that reached toward anything containing usable matter. "Target the leading edge," Chen ordered. "All railguns, continuous fire. Deploy antimatter warheads at these coordinates." She marked key points in the swarm's approach vector. The ship's railguns accelerated projectiles to significant fractions of light speed, tearing through the swarm's leading edge. Antimatter warheads created brief, Sun-bright flashes as matter and antimatter annihilated each other, vaporizing huge sections of the biological mass. From the observation deck, Ambassador Thalax watched with a mixture of horror and fascination. "Your weapons, they're so destructive." "That's the point," Commander Okafor replied grimly. "The swarm understands consumption. We're teaching it about being consumed." For 18 hours, the Thunderchild held its position, weapons firing continuously. The swarm recoiled initially, then adapted, forming denser structures that could withstand railgun impacts and dispersing to minimize antimatter blast damage. "They're learning," Rodriguez reported. "Our effectiveness is dropping by the hour." In the science lab, Dr. Kapoor worked frantically with his team and Luminar scientists. "The disruption compound is ready for testing, but we need a delivery system that can penetrate deep into the swarm's mass." Chief Engineer Toshiro Nakamura had been modifying the ship's shuttlecraft. "We've converted 2 shuttles into delivery vehicles. They can penetrate 3 kilometers into the swarm before dispersing the compound." "Who's flying them?" Chen asked, already knowing the answer. Nakamura met her gaze steadily. "I am, Captain. Along with Lieutenant Rodriguez from security, we've calculated optimal entry vectors for maximum dispersion." Chen wanted to refuse. Sending crew members on what might be a suicide mission violated every principle of her command. But the colony had millions of lives at stake, and the Thunderchild was running out of ammunition. "Approved," she said quietly. "But I want remote pilot capabilities as backup. If there's any chance to recall the shuttles after deployment, we take it." The modified shuttles launched into the seething mass of the swarm. On the bridge, tension mounted as they watched the small craft penetrate deeper into the biological storm. "First shuttle reaching dispersal point," Okafor reported. "Compound releasing now." On screen, a pale blue cloud blossomed within the swarm. Where it touched, the swarm's coordination seemed to falter, individual units breaking from the collective pattern. "It's working," Dr. Wright exclaimed. "The quantum disruption is breaking their network." "Second shuttle at dispersal point," Rodriguez reported. "Deploying now." Another blue cloud expanded, and larger sections of the swarm began to drift aimlessly, individual units unable to coordinate with the whole. "Recall shuttles," Chen ordered immediately. "First shuttle responding. Beginning extraction," Okafor confirmed. "Second shuttle. No response. Communication lost." For agonizing minutes, they watched as the first shuttle fought its way out of the increasingly chaotic swarm mass. The second remained deep within, its signal gone. "First shuttle docking now," Rodriguez reported. Chief Engineer Nakamura emerged, his face grim. The relentless enemy. The collective council chamber resembled an amphitheater carved from living crystal. Representatives from 17 surviving civilizations occupied tiers that spiraled upward, each species and environmental conditions tailored to their biology. Some breathed methane, others floated in liquid suspension, while several existed as pure energy contained within specialized fields. Captain Chen stood at the center with her team, feeling the weight of countless alien eyes upon them. Ambassador Thalax spoke first, introducing the humans to the assembled council. "These beings come from a world classified as Category 9 hostile in our environmental index," Thalax explained. "Their planet's gravity, climate variations, pathogens, and predator species would be lethal to most collective members. They have evolved in constant competition with their environment and with each other." Murmurs rippled through the chamber as the translation matrix struggled to convert multiple alien languages simultaneously. A being composed of interconnected geometric shapes that shifted constantly floated forward. "I am Elder Caravan of the Tesseract Conclave. Your species' historical transmissions contain disturbing patterns of conflict. You call it war, organized destruction on massive scales. How can we trust those who have perfected killing?" Before Chen could respond, a massive entity suspended in a containment field of swirling gases intervened. "I am Morpheus Prime of the Nebulans. Our entire home system has been consumed." 3 billion souls, gone. If these humans possess knowledge of destruction we lack, I say we listen. Chen stepped forward. We don't celebrate our violent history, but we don't deny it either. On Earth, life has always been a struggle for survival. That struggle taught us something your peaceful civilizations never needed to learn: how to fight against overwhelming odds. Dr. Wright activated a holographic display showing Earth's environmental conditions, predator species, and natural disasters. Many council members recoiled at images of earthquakes, hurricanes, and apex predators. You evolved in paradise compared to Earth, Chen continued. But paradise doesn't prepare you for predators. The Void Swarm is the ultimate predator, and humans are experienced prey who learn to hunt back. For 3 days, the council deliberated while the Thunderchild's crew analyzed all available data on the swarm. Dr. Kapoor worked with collective scientists, studying the few biological samples they had managed to collect before their research stations were overwhelmed. The swarm operates like a superorganism, he explained during a briefing in the Thunderchild's command center. Each unit is microscopic, but combines to form larger structures. They communicate through a quantum entanglement network, instantaneous communication, regardless of distance. That's how they adapt so quickly, Dr. Wright added. What one part learns, the entire swarm knows immediately. Security Chief Rodriguez studied the tactical simulations with narrowed eyes. So they're coordinated, adaptive, and self-replicating. Any weaknesses? Dr. Kapoor displayed molecular models on the main screen. Their cellular structure is unlike anything on Earth, but follows similar principles. They require specific elements to replicate, primarily carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, the building blocks of organic life. Commander Okafor leaned forward. Can we poison them? Disrupt their molecular structure? Possibly. Dr. Kapoor nodded. I'm working with the Luminar scientists on a compound that might disrupt their quantum communication network. Without coordination, they might lose their adaptive advantage. Captain Chen received the Council's decision on the 4th day. The collective would accept human assistance, but many members expressed deep reservations about Earth's military approach. We have never developed weapons designed to destroy, Elder Kerman explained. The concept violates our most fundamental principles of existence. I understand your concerns, Chen replied diplomatically. But principles won't stop the swarm. It doesn't share your values. It only consumes. The first test of humanity's approach came sooner than expected. Long-range sensors detected a swarm tendril approaching a nebulan colony with 8 million inhabitants. The evacuation had barely begun. The Thunderchild can intercept in 6 hours, Lieutenant Kaminsky reported. But we don't have enough firepower to stop a swarm that size. Chen made her decision. Contact Earth. Tell them we need everything they can send, ships, weapons, and personnel trained to use them. In the meantime, we'll do what humans have always done when outmatched, improvise. Your species evolved facing constant threats, Velon added. You developed something most spacefaring civilizations never needed. The capacity for warfare, Chen finished. Yes, Philax confirmed. We found it disturbing in your transmissions, your preoccupation with conflict and combat. But now we understand. You developed the very skills we need to survive. Chen turned to face the alien delegation, her expression resolute. Show us everything you know about this swarm. We'll need to contact Earth for reinforcements, but in the meantime, we'll develop a strategy. For the first time, she saw something like hope in the alien ambassador's multifaceted eyes. The collective council awaits you, Thalax said. Not all will welcome your methods, Captain Chen. Many still believe violence can never be justified, even to save lives. Chen nodded grimly. Then we'll need to show them that where we come from, survival sometimes requires doing the unthinkable. As they followed the ambassador deeper into the station, Dr. Wright leaned close to Chen. You realize what this means for humanity. We're stepping onto the galactic stage as warriors. Better that, Chen replied quietly, than having no stage left to step onto. If this swarm keeps consuming worlds, eventually it will find Earth too. Behind them, Earth's finest soldiers followed, hands resting on weapons unlike anything the collective had ever seen. The Deathworlders had arrived, bringing with them the terrible gift of warfare that might just save a galaxy unprepared for predators. Non-invasive scan. Security Chief Diana Rodriguez confirmed, hand hovering over the weapons controls. They're just looking us over. Chen straightened her uniform. Open a channel. Broadcast on all frequencies. Use the translation matrix. The main view screen flickered to life, and humanity had its first glimpse of an alien intelligence. The being had a slender form with 4 arms and a head that seemed too large for its body. Its skin shimmered with an opalescent quality, and multifaceted eyes blinked vertically. You came, the alien spoke, its mouth movements not quite matching the translated words. After millennia of searching the stars, someone finally answered our call. Chen stepped forward. I am Captain Maya Chen of the United Earth ship Thunderchild. We received your distress signal and have come to offer assistance. The alien's body made a gesture that the translation matrix couldn't interpret. I am Ambassador Thilax of the Luminar Collective. We sent messages to 1,000 worlds, but yours was the only one that responded. The alien paused, head tilting. Our scans indicate your vessel carries weapons. We came prepared for any situation. Chen answered diplomatically. Good, Thilax replied, surprising them. The others said weapons were primitive and unnecessary. They were wrong. The Void Swarm consumed their worlds first. As the Thunderchild docked with the massive Luminar station, the crew got their first close look at alien architecture. The station was constructed of crystalline materials that seemed to flow like liquid while maintaining structural integrity. Curving corridors and vast chambers defied Euclidean geometry. The diplomatic team prepared for disembarkation in the shuttle bay. Dr. Wright adjusted her translation device, while Commander Okafor briefed the security detail. Remember, he told the 6 Marines accompanying them, we're guests and potential allies. Weapons at ready but not aimed. Captain Chen led the party through the airlock, where Ambassador Thilax waited with a delegation of Luminar officials. Up close, their features were even more striking. Their bodies seemed to shift with subtle bioluminescence beneath their skin. Welcome aboard Harmony Station, Thilax said, making a flowing gesture with its 4 arms. We have prepared an atmospheric adjustment field for your comfort. Thank you, Chen replied. We've brought scientists and engineers who can help assess your situation. Thilax led them through corridors where gravity seemed to shift subtly, past chambers filled with other alien species. Refugees, Chen realized. Some floated in liquid environments, others huddled in groups, all watching the humans with expressions that translated across species barriers. Hope mixed with fear. How many different civilizations are represented here? Dr. Wright asked, her scientific curiosity overwhelming her. 17 remain, Thilax answered. There were 26 when the Void Swarm first appeared at the edge of our known space. Now 9 are extinct, their worlds and colonies completely consumed. They entered a vast chamber dominated by a 3-dimensional star map. Hundreds of star systems glowed in blue light, while a growing black mass consumed one edge of the display. The swarm began here, Thilax pointed, at what we call the Dark Rift. At first we thought it was a natural phenomenon, a cosmic anomaly. By the time we recognized it as a life form, it had consumed 3 systems. Life form. Dr. Kapoor leaned forward, studying the display. You mean this is a single organism? Many organisms acting as one. Another Luminar explained, stepping forward. I am Chief Scientist Velen. The swarm consists of billions of microscopic entities that combine to form larger structures. They break down all matter, organic and inorganic, and convert it into more of themselves. Captain Chen studied the map grimly. And your weapons have no effect. The Luminar exchanged looks that even humans could interpret as embarrassment. Most collective species evolved without significant predators, Thalax explained. Our technology focused on harmony and cooperation. We developed deterrence to discourage aggression, but nothing designed to destroy on a massive scale. What about evacuation? Commander Okafor asked. We've evacuated billions, but our ships cannot outpace the swarm's expansion. Its rate of consumption increases with each world it devours. Dr. Wright moved closer to the map. You said our signal patterns suggested we might survive. What did you mean? Thalax's four hands performed a complex gesture. We detected your transmissions decades ago. Your entertainment, news, history. You are from what our xenobiologists classify as a Deathworld, a planet with high gravity, extreme climate variation, dangerous predators, and constant competition. The desperate signal. The message arrived on an ordinary Wednesday, interrupting every broadcast signal on Earth simultaneously. It bypassed firewalls, encryption, and security protocols as if they were cobwebs, in perfect English, and simultaneously in every human language. The words appeared across billions of screens. To any who receive this message, we are dying. A darkness consumes our worlds. We have searched the stars for help, and your signal patterns suggest you might survive where we cannot. Please, if you can hear us, help. Dr. Eleanor Wright stared at her laboratory monitor in disbelief. As SETI's lead communications specialist, she had spent 15 years searching for extraterrestrial signals. Now, on an unremarkable afternoon with rain pattering against the windows of the Berkeley lab, First Contact had found her instead. Run the authentication protocol again, she ordered, her voice barely steady. Her assistant, Dr. Raj Patel, shook his head in amazement. I've run it 3 times. This is no hoax, no terrestrial signal. The transmission originated 32 light-years away, but somehow arrived instantaneously. Within hours, the United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session. Military leaders argued it was a trap. Scientists insisted it was the greatest discovery in human history. Politicians debated the diplomatic ramifications while religious leaders pondered the theological implications. The signal contains embedded translation matrices that adapted to every human language simultaneously. Dr. Wright explained to the assembled world leaders, her presentation displayed on the massive screens around the chamber. Whoever sent this knows how to communicate across species barriers. General Marcus Blackwood of the United Earth Defense Force leaned forward. And how do we know they're not luring us into a trap? This could be the oldest trick in the warfare book. We don't, Dr. Wright admitted. But the signal also contained astronomical data, star maps, coordinates, and something else. She pulled up a series of images showing an expanding darkness consuming star systems one by one. Something is destroying entire solar systems, and it's moving in a predictable pattern. After 3 days of heated debate, humanity made its decision. Earth would answer the call. The UES Thunderchild gleamed in the orbital shipyard, Earth's blue curve reflected in its polished hull. At 1,200 meters long, it represented the pinnacle of human innovation, the first ship equipped with the experimental Hawking drive for faster-than-light travel. Captain Maya Chen stood on the observation deck, watching the last supply shuttles dock with her vessel. At 42, she had the weathered face of someone who had spent too much time in space, with dark eyes that missed nothing and short black hair streaked with premature gray. Final crew manifest, Captain, said Commander Abayomi Okafor, sliding a tablet across the table. As first officer, his efficient manner complemented Chen's more intuitive leadership style. 376 souls, Chen murmured, scrolling through the list. Scientists, engineers, medical personnel, and 100 Marines. The Security Council insisted. Okafor replied. This is both a rescue mission and potentially first contact with 2 alien species, one friendly, one hostile. Chen nodded, her expression grave. Let's hope we're prepared for either scenario. The Thunderchild carried Earth's finest minds and its most advanced weapons, railguns, plasma lances, and experimental antimatter warheads. If this was indeed a trap, humanity wouldn't go down without a fight. Dr. Wright joined them, her excitement visible despite her exhaustion. The engineering team has integrated the alien transmission's FTL communication principles into our systems. We should be able to maintain contact with Earth regardless of distance. And the translation matrix? Chen asked. Ready for first contact. It's adaptive, but we've preloaded it with basic diplomatic protocols and warning signals. 3 days later, with Earth growing small in the view screens, Captain Chen gave the order that would make history. Engage the Hawking drive. Lieutenant Kaminsky, take us to the coordinates. The stars blurred around them as space itself folded. The sensation made even the most hardened crew members nauseous. A stretching feeling as if their atoms were being pulled in impossible directions. Then, with a silent flash, the Thunderchild emerged 32 light-years from Earth. Position confirmed, Captain. Lieutenant Kaminsky reported, her voice filled with wonder. We're in the Lyra constellation, orbit of the fourth planet around the star Kepler 442. Life signs? Chen asked. Science officer Dr. Sanjay Kapoor studied his readings. Massive energy signatures orbiting the second planet. Could be a space station or, wait, we're being scanned.